What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So Super Mario Maker 2 is getting a pretty good looking piece of DLC. If you remember with the first Mario Maker, there was quite a bit of support for that, so people were wondering what was going on with the second one. Well, we're going to go over that today because it looks awesome. It is a crossover with Zelda and Mario. It looks pretty good. We're also talking about YouTube's big change, it seems, for gaming in general, specifically violent video games on YouTube and how they're going to kind of view them now, and the Atari VCS. It's technically back in the news, but not necessarily for a good reason, but at least it looks like the thing is finally coming out just a little later for backers than we thought. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit the like button. It does help out, and get subscribed down below, the little red button and then the bell next to it. That way you can stay up to date with all of the gaming news going on in the gaming world. We're going to start with Silent Hills. You remember Silent Hills, of course, PT, as most of us know at this point, or at least we think about Silent Hills, we think about PT, and that, of course, was Kojima releasing a demo that basically told us that Silent Hills was happening, and then it gets all shut down by Konami. It's a whole thing, and a lot of us were hoping that something would come of it, but no, nothing ever did. However, now we hear that Kojima is looking into possibly doing a horror game next, and there's been a little bit of rumors, I guess, going on out there trying to tell us what could have been with Silent Hills, and some of it's absolutely terrifying. Check this out. This is a tweet by Alana Pierce saying, "I heard that Silent Hills required you to sign a waiver before playing because it would somehow interact with your real-world self by sending you emails or text messages as characters from the game, even when you weren't actively playing." Now, of course, that's technically a rumor, but it makes you think a little more about what Kojima could do in a horror game, because that is something I could see Kojima taking a shot at. What if this game started invading your real world, like to where it would text you or like randomly call you, I guess, or email you or something? That would be insane, and from the mind of Kojima, that would be something that he might try to explore. It's just something to think about as we hear more and more about Kojima possibly trying a horror game. Also, back during the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, there were talks about a fourth movie, and nothing really ever came of it necessarily. We never got to the point where it was coming out or anything like that. But, of course, if they did, a video game would follow it, much like the first three, or the trilogy. We had a Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. Well, apparently a fourth Spider-Man game was at least being worked on to the point where they had like levels done and a couple of instances where you could play through it, and we saw that on YouTube. It was a pretty cool video to see. Now, the game, of course, is very much incomplete. It is a prototype at this point, but check this out. This was posted by Hard4Games, showing off an unreleased Spider-Man 4 game that they had found. They talked about a development kit, I guess, that they found it on, but it is really, really funny to see Spider-Man 4 on the Wii, by the way, is what they were playing it on. And to see this is interesting. Now, look, all around it doesn't look great. Obviously, it's a very early build, it seems, but some of the effects as they were showing off from the lighting and basically traversing the open world part looked pretty cool. And it's unfortunate that that never actually materialized into anything. I'd been curious what they could have done with a fourth Spider-Man movie or even just a fourth game, but it is fun to see these kind of things leak out or get out there to where you can see a game very early on, but one that I didn't even really think about until now when it just kind of shows up. You always wonder what games were being worked on even a couple levels in and then canceled. Also, something that's been pretty important in Nintendo going forward has been launching in China successfully, as there is we would assume a large customer base that they would be targeting there, and they are partnering with Tencent. Well, according to Machizuki on Twitter, as you're seeing, he tweeted out that they will be making some sort of announcement in the coming day or so, which could end up being a launch day, as we are hearing more and more that they could possibly launch the Switch in China this month, December. And that would be pretty big for Nintendo, although I am curious how well the thing would sell in China necessarily because of its pricing. But for them to partner with Tencent, who, of course, Tencent's not looked upon very highly outside of China, but like in China, they're the controlling company pretty much that you want to go to if you want to launch there, because they have all the ties to different locations, areas, and ability to stock. So that at least makes sense. We'll have to see what happens here with their launch when it happens, because that could have a massive impact on systems sold if they can successfully launch it there. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Super Mario Maker 2 update, and this is pretty cool. Now, they started showing off some extra things that you can get in the game for course building tools, but the biggest thing that everyone's talking about, of course, was part of the trailer that they showed off, is the Master Sword. And go figure, you grab the Master Sword and you turn into Link. And it's not even just like a costume, like we had costumes and stuff in the original Mario Maker, and it was cool because you could turn in all kinds of stuff, but it seems like they're not providing as many, or really any at all, to be honest, but they seem to be working a bit more on the ones that they do provide. Check this out. In the trailer, they showed you doing all kinds of stuff as Link. Now, when you grab that Master Sword, it is only available in the Super Mario Bros. Style, so you can only use it in that. You can't use it in all of them, but you transform into Link. At that point, you have a new move set. You can stab enemies with a sword, of course, so you use your sword. You can block attacks with a shield. You can lay bombs. You can shoot arrows, by the way, in multiple directions. They showed 3 directions in front of you. You can also dash forward, and you can do the traditional downward stab with the sword when you jump up in the air and then come crashing down. This is really, really cool. So, of course, Mario Maker 2 has all kinds of cool stuff you can do in the game. People are doing some insane stuff in this game. Just, you wouldn't even think about it. People are making like working calculators. It is crazy right now. And Nintendo just introduced a massive new thing, and that's Link. Now, I do think Link will be used quite a bit. It looked fun because it looked like you're just playing as Link in a Mario game, right? That is really, really cool. I hope they continue this with more updates for different characters. I mean, think about some characters that you would want to see in Super Mario Maker 2 and let me know down below, and not just like costumes or anything, like full-on characters. Like an example, they put Samus in there, and you have all of Samus's moves from Metroid. That would be really, really cool. And the biggest thing to consider here is that people will have access to use that in their levels going forward. And yes, it's only Super Mario Bros. And it's a shame they didn't do anything with Link in like at least 16-bit, right? Like Super Mario World. I get they might not have gone as far as to do like the full 3D Link and like, the 2D plane for like new Super Mario Bros. U or anything like that. But to have at least Link in the 8-bit and 16-bit would have been really, really cool. However, to add other characters in, like Samus, for example, like I said, you could maybe drop in DK, Donkey Kong. You could drop him in. There's a lot of people you could put in there, and all of a sudden the levels could become very, very different just because of their abilities and their skill sets. And as long as they get you to have to transform into them, that's the other thing, because you have to grab the Master Sword. I'm sure they'll figure out ways where you cannot get past a part of level without grabbing the Master Sword, whether it's like squeeze you through a certain area, for example, or make you fall on top of it after you come out of a pipe. There are ways they'll make you do that, but that is such a cool idea for a Mario Maker 2 to start including these kind of things, and it's good to see them support it going forward, whereas other games that I have questions about, like Mario Party, that's a big one, is getting nothing, although they might just introduce a whole nother Mario Party. Super Mario Maker 2 is most likely going to be the only Mario Maker game this generation. I think that makes sense. Free DLC getting released on the 5th of December, so just a few days, you'll be able to download it for free and try it out, but exciting stuff there for the building community around Mario Maker 2, and of course, all the people who just like to play through levels. Next up, let's talk about a big update that YouTube is doing around gaming content on just the platform in general, because when you go to see different games, you might notice that they are like age restricted for whatever reason. You might not even find the game that crazy or that gratuitous in terms of violence, but it still is. Now, there are some cases where it's like all of the Mortal Kombat fatalities that are pretty gruesome, back to back to back to back to back. And you might go, okay, I understand, right? But then you might do something like Battlefield, right? And sure, people are getting shot and everything, but it's not like as bad as like a Mortal Kombat, right? That might be age gated, and that's strange at times. We've seen a bunch of games that don't feel overly violent, but will be age restricted, despite other things like scripted sequences and movie clips or TV show clips that are not. It's interesting that it was that way before, but now it looks like YouTube is gonna be making a change. So in a post from YouTube Gaming, and they put this all over the internet, it was on Twitter, I saw it on Facebook, people were talking about it. This appears to be lightening up on the idea that video game content is not supposed to be age restricted constantly if it is violent. Like it's much more of an area that they appear to be working on. For example, they say future gaming uploads that include scripted or simulated violence may be approved instead of being age restricted. There will be fewer restrictions for violence in gaming, but this policy will still maintain our high bar to protect audiences from real world violence. We may still age restrict content if violent or gory imagery is the sole focus of the video. For instance, if the video focuses entirely necessarily on the most graphically violent part of a video game, and that is why I brought up the idea of Mortal Kombat fatalities back to back to back to back, right? But I guess if you're playing Mortal Kombat and you keep punching the person and, you know, their blood keeps flying out of them, or you do like an x-ray and you break their bones, or maybe you do a fatality somewhere in like a gaming session of like half an hour, or even maybe a full live stream, right? You're live streaming and here comes a fatality that's pretty bad, but it's in there, right? It's like an hour-long thing, and it's like maybe 2% of the whole video at that, right? That would not necessarily be age restricted or blocked essentially behind an age filter. That wouldn't happen. Again, according to YouTube, it's going to more fall in line with, oh, it's scripted. Basically, it's not real, right? They're trying to differentiate the pretend, I guess, idea of video game violence or movies or TV shows and real world violence. That is the idea here. So my question now is, how well will this work? Because they're going to rely, of course, on basically their AI, their machine learning to make this happen. I think it'll still take a little bit of time to fully work out, right? Because machine learning has to it takes time generally for it to happen or work out and it to get smart enough. But I am happy to hear that YouTube is making a step in the right direction, and it is good for creators. Now, they do say that you would still get demonetized for certain aspects if they deem it too violent. They'll still hit you with a little yellow dollar sign, but as most creators will tell you, that is much better than getting age restricted. Once you get age gated, that's pretty much it for that video. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation, specifically, I guess the PlayStation brand in general, as it has now turned 25 today. And that probably made a lot of people watching this right now feel pretty old, right? Because that is, wow, it is weird to think about the PlayStation already turning 25, and it released back December 3rd, 1994 in Japan. And it came out, of course, at a time where Nintendo and Sega were battling it out. But, of course, we know PlayStation and Nintendo had a falling out. We'll say that, a falling out. Sony went one way, Nintendo went the other with Philips, and the rest is history, with Sony essentially dominating console gaming for quite a while, except the Wii comes along and takes out the PS3. But Sony kind of tripped over their own shoelaces getting out of that gate then. So, yeah. But big, I guess, news there for a lot of people who maybe want to put in perspective how long they have been gaming. So let me know any memories you have for the PlayStation brand in general, maybe the PS1. Maybe you got the PS1 and then Final Fantasy VII came out and you're like, this is amazing. Or maybe the PS2 was your first DVD player, or maybe the PS3 was your first Blu-ray player. There were some memories there, technically. I mean, some people convinced their parents to get a PS2, and I saw this happen firsthand with my friend, where they convinced their parents to get a PS2 because it was a good DVD player. Turns out it was a pretty bad DVD player, but it still technically played DVDs, so you could pass it off as, hey, let's get this, and then I'll be able to play all these games, too, that are coming out. Well, we also had a post by Jim Ryan talking a bit about it, celebrating it, and saying to join us all week at PlayStation Blog and on our social channels for a series of celebrations. Now, there's been some questions around what that could mean, because there are some rumors right now going around on Twitter. I'm not 100% sure on this, that there would be some big announcement, and the only reason I can think that there'd be a big announcement possibly today is around the 25th anniversary, of course, and Halo Reach is releasing today, and Sony they just love to do something when another company is trying to release something, video game company is trying to release something, specifically Microsoft, and like to kind of rain on their parade with a bigger announcement, whether it's an Insomniac pickup or Death Stranding information right before E3, when Microsoft is going to have their biggest E3 ever, and all we were talking about was Death Stranding, and we were talking about Insomniac getting bought by Sony. So, fun stuff there, 25th anniversary. Let me know some memories you guys have for the PlayStation brand dating all the way back to 1994. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about that Atari VCS. I'm supposed to be getting one, I think. It seems like it. They've entered pre-production at least. They've posted several pictures now of it actually being worked on and put together. There's a Medium post that they put out, really detailing a lot of this stuff. And here's it's coming out. It's not going to be that powerful. I think it's overpriced for what's in it. It's using like an AMD R1000. It's not very strong. It's not going to be playing any massive games, although they kind of told us that before. But the big issue here is originally they had promised backers that it would come out, earlier in the year, and then they were like, okay, December. Now they're saying it's still going to be a few weeks even after that. So I'm not going to be seeing it show up this month, because I did back it because I thought it'd be interesting to take it apart here when it came out. It makes sense for me. I don't think it makes sense for like 98% of people out there. to buy this thing. I admit that fully. So that's why I'm not like too annoyed by it, because I'm not exactly buying it to be like, oh great, the Atari VCS is here. But they did say that they will still try to get to market by March 2020 in like stores like even Walmart. Apparently it'll be stocked there. We'll see. And then I believe Amazon and a few others. But for those people who did back it, all 10 of us, no, actually there were more. To be fair, there were more. But for everyone who backed it early, they're going to come up with some kind of, I don't know, some way to make it up to everyone, some kind of gift. I don't know. Maybe they'll give us more Atari games or something. It's really hard to say. I feel like it's going to come out. It's not going to be that good. And then we're all kind of going to move on. And those of us who ordered it will probably just feel burned for a bit. And then we'll just kind of move on. And hey, at least after that, we'll have like the PS5 and the Xbox Scarlet to look forward to, and a bunch of games coming from Nintendo. So we'll still have stuff to do after that comes out. But yeah, it's not looking great right now for the Atari VCS, but at least it's coming out. Like it's not necessarily going to be vaporware. They will at least send me a plastic box. Hopefully there's actually stuff in it. And we'll finish up today with the comment of the day from yesterday. This one, as you're seeing here, is from Kata saying, if the Gen 4 remake gets the Let's Go treatment, we riot. That would be interesting. Because people have been calling for like a Diamond and Pearl, right? They've been calling that forever. Diamond and Pearl remakes for so long. I've seen this for a while now, right? Years even. And if it comes out and it's Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee style, I feel like there will be a lot of pushback. Similar, I'm not gonna say exactly the same, but similar to what we've seen with the National Dex controversy, and because people want it so bad as like a mainline type series, right? Like that more hardcore style. And when it comes out and it's basically like you're getting candies to feed and it's like Let's Go style, whew, that's going to be interesting. I will say that. I want to see how that goes. But I think it's actually a possibility, which is going to be weird. I don't know. I think the next one is going to be a Let's Go type series because it worked out and it's sold. But what will they go with the Let's Go series? That's what we have to see. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's the Mario Maker 2 DLC with Link. Do you think it's really cool to have Nintendo have Mario Maker 2 continue to cross over with more characters that have all these really cool abilities thrown into the game? I think it just opens the game up more, but let me know what you think about that. Or then YouTube, of course, and it's their new policies, it seems, for gaming, trying to lighten up on the in-game violence that you see in, I guess, even something like Mortal Kombat, Call of Duty, Battlefield. Let me know about that down below. And then what do you think right now about the Atari VCS and when that comes out? Let me know if you're getting it, because I assume a lot of people are not, and what you think is going to happen when it does finally ship. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.